A man touches the holiest object in history and dies instantly. It wasn't a punishment, it was a physical law, because 3,500 years ago, in the most arid desert of the Middle East, former Egyptian slaves built something that modern science still cannot fully explain. An object capable of storing the presence of God and releasing lethal energy against anyone who disregarded its handling laws. This is the story of the Ark of the Covenant. And it is a story about how the sacred can be as real as electricity. When the sky falls silent, it is because God wants to be heard in the silence. And it was in the scorching silence of Mount Sinai that it all began. Moses climbs the mountain. 40 days, 40 nights. The people wait below, surrounded by sand and doubt. They have just left Egypt, where they were slaves for 400 years. Their hands know clay and brick. Their bodies know the whip and humiliation. But God did not call them to build pyramids. He called them to build a dwelling place. At the top of the mountain, enveloped in fire and cloud, Moses received something that no human architect had ever imagined: the technical blueprints for the most dangerous object in history. God speaks. Moses takes notes. Every measurement, every detail, every material. They shall make an ark of acacia wood. Its length shall be 2.5 cubits, its width 1.5 cubits, and its height 1.5 cubits. You shall overlay it with pure gold, inside and out. The measurements are precise: 45 inches long, 27 inches wide, 27 inches high. There can be no error. Because what God is commanding is not just a decorative chest, it is a capacitor, an energy storage device. 3 layers, outer gold, insulating wood, inner gold. But Moses has a problem. Who among this nation of slaves knows how to work with gold with the millimeter precision that God demands? The answer comes in the form of a name: Bezalel, 30 years old, grandson of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and the first man in the Bible described as filled with the Spirit of God, not to prophesy, not to lead, but to create. I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with wisdom, understanding, and knowledge in all kinds of craftsmanship, to make artistic designs, to work in gold, silver, and bronze, to cut stones for setting, and to carve wood. Bezalel is not just a craftsman, he is a spiritual engineer, and he has an impossible task: to transform the gold the Israelites brought from Egypt into an object that can contain the glory of God himself. By his side is Oholiab, his assistant. Together, they set up the holiest workshop in history in the middle of the desert. The chosen wood is acacia, not by chance. In the Sinai desert, the acacia is one of the few trees that endure. Its wood is dense, resistant, almost indestructible, perfect for being the insulating heart of an object that will carry divine energy. Bezalel cuts, measures, adjusts. Every board must fit perfectly. He works under the scorching sun, but his hands do not shake, because he knows an error of a single millimeter could invalidate everything. The overlaying process begins: pure gold, not plated, not washed, completely overlaid, inside, outside. The technique requires controlled fire, precision tools, superhuman patience. The gold must adhere to the wood without leaving gaps, without creating bubbles, without compromising the structure. And while Bezalel works, something extraordinary happens. He is not just building a religious object. He is building an energy condenser, 2 gold panels separated by a wooden insulator. The basic configuration of an electrical capacitor 3,500 years before Benjamin Franklin discovered electricity. But the divine blueprint does not end with the chest. God commands the construction of the mercy seat, the cover of solid gold, and upon it, 2 cherubim. They are not cute postcard angels. They are creatures of celestial warfare, with outspread wings, hammered out of gold from a single piece. The wings touch, and between them, God says, "There I will meet with you." Bezalel carves. Every feather, every curve, every anatomical detail. He has never seen a cherub, but his hands know what to do, because the spirit that fills him is the same one that designed the universe. And when the mercy seat is finished, something becomes clear. Those touching wings are not just decorative. They create a field, a space between them where the presence of God will manifest so intensely that the surrounding air will glow. But an object of power needs transportation. God commands, "You shall cast 4 rings of gold and put them on the 4 corners of the ark. You shall also make poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. You shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark to carry the ark by them." The poles must never be removed. Never. Because the ark can never be touched by human hands. Bezalel casts the rings, installs them, prepares the poles, overlays everything in gold, and finally, after months of work under the relentless desert sun, the ark is ready. God orders 3 objects to be placed inside: the 2 stone tablets with the 10 commandments, written by the very finger of God; Aaron's rod, which miraculously budded with almonds to prove his priestly authority; and a golden jar containing manna, the bread that fell from heaven, law, authority, provision, the 3 pillars of the covenant between God and his people, sealed inside an object that will begin to demonstrate a power as real as it is terrifying. And the first demonstration comes in the form of light, when the ark is finally placed in the tabernacle, in the place called the Holy of Holies. A luminous cloud descends and fills the space. The Shekinah, the visible glory of God. The priests retreat, because that light is not metaphorical, it is physical, it burns, it kills, and the rules of approach are strict. Only the Levites may carry the ark, only on their shoulders, only by the poles, only after purification rituals. Only the high priest may enter the Holy of Holies, only once a year, only on the Day of Atonement, only after burning incense to create a protective cloud. Because what is inside Jew room is not a symbol. It is the manifest presence of a God who dwells in consuming fire. He did not punish you. He called you into the whirlwind. And the whirlwind begins when the people of Israel leave Sinai and depart for the promised land. The ark goes ahead, carried on the shoulders of Levites. When they march, the cloud moves. When they stop, the cloud stops. And along the way, something extraordinary happens in Jericho. The city is fortified, double walls, guard towers, a trained army, humanly impregnable. But God does not command a conventional siege. He commands a sound procession. During 6 days, the Israelites march around the city in silence. The ark goes ahead. 7 priests blow trumpets. The people follow behind. 1 lap per day. Absolute silence. Inside Jericho, terror grows, because that silence is not empty. It is charged. On the 7th day, 7 laps. And at the end of the 7th lap, Joshua shouts, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the city." The people shout, the trumpets sound, and the walls of Jericho fall, not inward, as would be expected in a normal structural collapse. Modern archaeologists confirm the rubble of Jericho fell outward, as if an internal force had pushed the stones. Acoustic resonance, electromagnetic pulse, vibration at a specific frequency that destabilized the mortar. The Bible does not explain the mechanism, it only records the result. The presence of God, manifested through the ark, tore down what was impenetrable. And Israel learns, this object is not a lucky charm, but every weapon has a safety protocol, and when the protocol is broken, death is instantaneous. The story of Uzzah is the most brutal proof that the sacred does not negotiate with good intentions. Decades after Jericho, King David decides to bring the ark to Jerusalem. It is a moment of national celebration, music, dancing, rejoicing. But David makes a fatal error. He places the ark on a cart pulled by oxen, not on the shoulders of the Levites, not on the gold poles, in a cart, as if the presence of God could be transported like any other piece of furniture. The procession moves forward, the crowd sings, and suddenly the oxen stumble, the cart shakes, the ark begins to tip. Uzzah, one of the drivers, acts on instinct. He reaches out his hand to steady the ark. His intentions were pure. He wanted to protect the holy object, to prevent it from falling to the ground. But the ark does not need human protection. The instant Uzzah's fingers touch the gold, a discharge surges through his body. He falls dead, right there, instantly. There was no judgment, there was no warning, only the immediate execution of a physical law as real as gravity. And David is paralyzed with terror because he has just learned something fundamental. God does not adapt to our methods. We adapt to His. The ark remains for 3 months at the house of Obed-Edom, and when it is finally transported correctly on the shoulders of the Levites by the gold poles after purification rituals, no one dies. Because the problem was never the ark. The problem was the disregard for the protocol. But if Israel learned to fear the ark, their enemies learned something even more terrible, that it works even outside of Israel. The Philistines capture the ark in battle. It is a military triumph. They take it to the temple of Dagon, their fish god, and place it at the feet of the statue as a trophy of war. The next morning, the statue of Dagon has fallen face down before the ark. The priests lift it up. They put it back on the pedestal. On the second morning, Dagon has fallen again, but this time his head and hands are cut off. And then the plagues begin. Tumors, hemorrhoids, death of livestock, rat infestation. Philistine city after city suffers inexplicable calamities while the ark is in their territory. In a panic, the Philistines make an offering of gold and return the ark to Israel on a cart pulled by cows that had never been yoked. The cows go in a straight line toward Israeli territory, without a guide, without instructions, as if they were being pulled by an invisible magnetic field. And when the ark finally returns, it is installed in the place God always designated, the Holy of Holies, at the heart of the tabernacle. Later, in the temple that Solomon will build in Jerusalem. And there, once a year, the most dangerous ritual in human history takes place. The Day of Atonement. The high priest prepares for days. Ritual baths, fasting, prayers, special white linen garments. He ties a rope around his waist, because if he dies inside, no one can go in to retrieve the body. He lights the censer. Thick smoke rises, creating a protective cloud, because the glory of God that dwells above the mercy seat is so intense that seeing it directly means death. He enters the Holy of Holies, alone, in silence, 15 minutes between life and death, 15 minutes in the physical presence of a God who dwells in unapproachable light. He sprinkles the sacrificial blood on the mercy seat, between the cherubim, in the place where the glory of God rests. And if he did everything correctly, if his purification was complete, if the protocol was followed to the letter, he comes out alive. Outside, the people wait in terrified silence, because if the high priest dies inside, there is no atonement that year. The nation's sins remain, but when he emerges alive with his face transfigured by the light, the people explode in celebration because the presence of God accepted the offering. True faith is born when human hope dies. And in 586 BC, all human hope dies. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, invades Jerusalem. Solomon's temple, where the ark dwelt for 400 years, is looted and burned. The Babylonians make meticulous lists of everything they steal: gold lampstands, silver basins, temple utensils. But the ark is not on the list. It simply disappears. And since that day, 2,600 years ago, No one knows where it is. The theories are many, some plausible, others fantastic. Theory 1, the Ark was destroyed by the Babylonians and the gold was melted down. It is the simplest explanation, also the saddest. It would mean that the holiest object in history was reduced to metal ingots. Theory 2, the priests hid the Ark in secret tunnels under the Temple Mount before the invasion. There is a labyrinth of underground chambers under Jerusalem that has never been fully mapped. Orthodox rabbis claim to know the exact location but refuse to reveal it because the opening of the chamber can only happen when the Messiah comes. Theory 3. The Ark was taken to Ethiopia by the son of the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon. To this day, in the city of Axum, there is a church called the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion, where a lone guardian claims to protect the Ark. No one but him can see it. He's chosen while still young and spends the rest of his life guarding a closed room until death, and there are even stranger stories. During World War II, Heinrich Himmler, leader of the Nazi SS, mounted an operation to locate the Ark. He believed it contained supernatural power that could guarantee the Third Reich's victory. Expeditions were sent to France, Ethiopia, and the Middle East. Monks were interrogated, ancient archives were looted. They never found it. But the Nazi obsession with the Ark proves something important. Even 3,500 years later, the world still trembles at the possibility that that object is real. Because if the Ark exists, everything changes. If there is a physical object capable of storing the presence of God, then God is not an abstract philosophical idea. He is a force of nature, as real as electricity, as measurable as radiation, as dangerous as nuclear energy. And that is terrifying, because it means the sacred has laws, and those laws do not bow to good intentions. They do not adapt to our convenience. They do not negotiate with our ignorance. Uzzah had good intentions, and he died. The Philistines had military power, and they suffered plagues. Nebuchadnezzar had the greatest army in the world, and the Ark escaped his hands. Ashes are the altar of those who are still waiting, and perhaps that is exactly why the Ark disappeared. Because Israel learned to treat it like a lucky charm, as an automatic guarantee of victory, as an object of negotiation with God. But God does not dwell in gold boxes because he needs a house. He dwells where he finds reverence. The prophet Jeremiah, writing after the disappearance of the Ark, records something surprising. God says that a time will come when no one will remember the Ark anymore, because it will not be missed, because the true covenant would no longer be written on stone tablets kept in a chest. It would be written on the human heart. Today, 2,600 years later, somewhere between the tunnels of Jerusalem, the mountains of Ethiopia, or the bottom of the Euphrates River, the Ark may be waiting, or it may have been destroyed, or it may never be found until time is complete. But the lesson remains. The sacred is real, and the sacred is dangerous. Not because God is cruel, but because God is fire, and fire does not burn out of malice. It burns by its nature. You can respect it. You can learn its protocols. You can approach it with reverence and purity, but you cannot domesticate it. You cannot touch it with impure hands and expect to live. You cannot carry it on carts of convenience and expect it to adapt. The Ark of the Covenant did not disappear because it lost its power. It disappeared because it fulfilled its purpose, to teach humanity that God is not safe, and holiness does not tolerate irreverence, even when overlaid with gold, even when kept in temples, even when carried on the shoulders of priests. The presence of God remains what it has always been, a consuming fire, unapproachable light, glory that kills and gives life. And perhaps the greatest mystery is not where the Ark is, but whether we are prepared to find it.